Guest here today is Mr. Brandon Moss, WLSFA grant recipient from March of this year. Is that right? March or May? March.
March.
And so we'll welcome Brandon. Brandon, welcome to the WLSFA meet and greet video here. All the members, 10,000 some members of WLSFA will have a chance to meet you now, and you'll be more than just a name and a picture on our um, on our display.
Okay, well, thank you for
Well,
having me.
welcome. And tell us a little bit about yourself, your age, where you live, what you do for a living, that type of thing.
Okay, so I am 42 years old. I live in Billings, Montana. I was born and raised here. We moved in high school. I moved out of state for a couple years, then we moved back. So this has been my home my whole life. I'm married. I have three daughters, ages 16, 13, and 11.
Wow.
So yeah, they keep me on my toes. So I work in the outdoor industry. I do quite a bit of outdoor riding for hunting and companies, and do some designer stuff for them, and just kind of contract out through different hunting companies. So that's basically me in a nutshell.
And what 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 brought you to the concept, or what when did your mind first get into thinking, maybe I should investigate weight loss surgery?
So actually, my sister had weight loss surgery. Uh, Probably I think it's close to 20 years ago. So,
Uh,
or maybe no, more like 25 years ago.
she
So I was familiar
was
with it with her. Yeah.
That's a long time ago. She's an original.
Yeah, she was one of the original ones.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with it with her, and I was, I wasn't really uh super overweight. I was always a big guy. I wrestled in high school. I wrestled 215 and heavyweight, and I was pretty solid. Um I played football. I was very active and everything. Um got married, and naturally when you get married you gain a couple pounds. And so wasn't too bad, but in 2008 I sustained a major back injury. It took out some discs and some nerves in my back and just caused a whole bunch of damage there. And after that, I just kind of my weight skyrocketed after
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And so I tried, it was one of those things where like I tried to exercise my way through it, but my back didn't let me do it. And then I kind of, there's something over time I learned that like there's a strong connection with chronic pain, uh, weight gain, and then you'd also, you can throw in depression in there with that one as well. And they kind of just like all bounced off each other, and so your weight just kept going up, and the back got worse, the depression got worse, and everything else. So I would try and lose weight, and I'd lose weight, but then my back would go bad, and I couldn't exercise anymore, and I'd gain the weight back. So it just was just a cycle there.
Right.
So over time, I just figured, um, I needed to have surgery, and I investigated a while back, and I just told myself there's no way I can afford that. It's just something I'm going to have to live with. This is my life. And then it just kept getting worse and worse. And my wife really encouraged me to. My sister talked to me about it a little bit, but my wife was like, we need to do something to really fix this. This can't be. You're young, and this can't be your life.
Right.
And so we found a way to get the weight loss surgery. I had a gastric bypass.
You had the Roux-en-Y, the full
Yep.
gastric, yeah. Yeah. So did I, by the way. So we're
Yeah.
twins that way.
Nice.
And we're also twins because, well, I was 404 pounds at surgery, and then I'd always been a fairly big guy. I mean, I was 6 foot tall in fifth grade, I think, and I never got much taller than 6 foot, but I was used to being considered big, and like you, I kind of wore it because I was outside a lot, and it was active. And I know what you mean when you get hurt and you can't exercise, when that's your primary means of burning calories and whatnot. It can really set you back. So you
Yep.
were in this destructive cycle of not
Yeah, it was
not
very much.
being
Yeah, and I was pretty even like so when I wasn't exercise. So when I wasn't in sports anymore and I got older, I did a lot of so with the hunting, I did a lot of walking. So I
right.
was very very active, and I could basically so some of those days we'd be walking for you're going on a hunting trip. You're 15 to 20 miles is what you'd be walking. And some of it, sometimes not, you wouldn't walk that much in the mountains, but out here in Montana, some of those prairies is
Oh,
when you walk.
still, yeah, it's not like walking on a track. It's not,
Yep.
flat.
Yep. And I was keeping track of the days I'd be in the field. Like it was between 235 and 300 days a year I'd be out
Wow.
there working my
Wow.
dogs or just going out and doing something. I just loved it and stuff like that. So I'd be out in the field quite a bit. Um, and so uh, I was very active, and I was heavy, but I wasn't what I would consider overweight. I could go do all that no problem,
Right.
and I could eat and drink what I wanted, and that was my mindset. I can eat and drink what I want. I'm going to be burning it off, no
Right.
problem. But once the injury hit, that's when it all came to it. I still ate and drank. I drank pop like crazy. I was known for Mountain Dew. Uh, people would know me as that's the guy that drinks Mountain Dew all the time.
Oh,
In
yeah.
fact, I went to like my junior prom in high school. I went in a Mountain Dew suit. So,
Yeah.
uh, that was a huge thing. So I kept doing that, and then I wasn't doing it as physically active as I was, and so the weight just skyrocketed after that, and it just set everything else in motion.
And like you say, that kind of situation brings on depression. Definitely a lack of self-esteem, or you're fighting that all the time because no one wants to be overweight. It's not. So you're always kind of got that nagging feeling that I want to do something different or more, and then one day you get hurt and you can't do more, and well, for you, like you said, you had gained a certain weight where it was worth investigating weight loss surgery. And then you had weight loss surgery, but you had a couple of complications after your initial operation, right?
Yep. So I actually went down to everything, my insurance didn't cover it, and so the price of the surgery here and the price of down in Las Vegas was substantially different. So I flew down to Las Vegas and had the surgery done, and it was in a hospital and everything, and so had the surgery there. Kind of told the doctors, I'm feeling some pain. They kind of said, yeah, that's normal. We fill your body cavity with gases, and it's going to be painful for a few days. And so I just figured it was normal. So I went, got out of the hospital, spent the night there, flew home, and that flight home was just a rough flight for me. I was in an immense amount of pain. Came home, told my wife about it, and said, I don't know if this is okay, and if they're right. So later on that night, probably earlier the next morning, I woke my wife up and I said, hey, we got to go to the hospital. Something's not right. So we got two hospitals here in Billings. We went to one of them, and we go in, and at that point, I was really sick at that point, and they started trying to get me to drink the stuff to do X-rays,
Oh
and
yeah.
I couldn't get very much of it down. I was really really sick at that point, and I got enough of it down that they could see that there was a blockage in there, and so when they they came in and said, yeah, we got to do surgery. I had laparoscopic surgery down in Vegas. They're like, we're going to try and go through your old incisions and fix that blockage, see if we can do it that way so we don't have to make a new incision. So what they couldn't see is actually my bowel was inflamed about 10 times its normal size.
Oh wow.
So as soon as they opened it up, my bowel just burst. So they had
Yeah.
to open me all the way up, take everything out, clean it out, reconstruct my bowel the best they could, clean it up the best they could. The blockage at that time was so messed up that they couldn't fix it. It was so entangled in itself that they just had to cut parts of my intestines out and reroute those. So through the all that, I went septic, and then so they're throwing IVs on me like crazy, and they said they're doing over 6 liters a day of IVs. And so that my kidneys were shutting down. That's one of the other reasons they're doing the IVs. And then the IV set my heart off. My heart couldn't handle it. So I went into AFib. My heart was beating well over 200 beats a minute. They couldn't get it down. Finally, this is all over like a 5-day period.
Wow.
Finally, they got it under control. And then later on, the infection set in. So they had to open me back up and get the infection out. And I was in the hospital, I think it was just shy of a month.
Wow.
So I walked out of there. It was with a GI tube that I was getting fed through and my medication through and all that stuff. I couldn't do. By that point, I was doing a small amount of protein liquids by mouth, and so I was starting to do a little bit more, within that month. And um, so then we came home and I got a wound vac on my wound, and that was on for quite a few months. My and so that was my original surgery was March 3rd, and so we're here at the towards the end of August, and my wound is just at this point finishing healing. So it's taken me that long. So it wasn't what I expected. My wife and I remember she was driving me to the airport. We were excited about my surgery. I was going to come home. I was going to have 2 weeks of just some not fun, not fun stuff, and then I was going to be losing weight and back onto this normal life. And it was a roller coaster ride after that.
It sure wasn't the way it was scripted, was it? But
No, not at all.
and what I want people to hear though is that because you and I've been talking for a couple months, chatting online, and you're back and forth, instant message, that kind of thing, and so I knew a little bit about the story, and so every time I go to talk to you, I'm thinking, oh man, this guy's got to be depressed and upset and everything. And you're always positive. You always have that positive mental attitude, and I'll be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this," and you're like, "Yeah, yeah, enough of that. What's coming next for me?" You're so excited about getting onto the journey and doing what you need to do that I wish everybody could see that, because even though you had these complications that nobody has all that stuff happen to them, but you did, unfortunately, and you're still positive, making the journey, doing the things you need to do to get there, asking questions, man, I mean, we tell everybody, find a mentor, somebody that's been through it. Well, I was where you were 10 years ago without all the complications, but from the weight loss surgery part. So you're doing everything exactly right, positive attitudes, and it's amazing because you have had a rather rough go of it, compared to most of us complain. We have our couple of weeks of adjustment. We're all mad and upset about that. It's nothing compared to what you've gone through. And I want people to see that too, that all of the stuff that we normally complain about, I have to eat pureed food and I can only eat this much, and it's all survivable. You'll move on, you'll learn, you'll incorporate it in your life. Look at what Brandon's done. He's had to not only accommodate all these changes that we've had to, but all these exceptional, uh, complications that he's had to deal with, and it hasn't deterred him a bit. And I only know that because we've been talking. But I want people out there who are meeting you now for the first time to know this guy he's the real deal. He's a fighter. He's in this for the long run, and I can't wait to watch the rest of his journey.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, and it is, it is a journey. It's like I've always been a planner, and so I
Mm.
always like, okay, I got to a point where I didn't plan anymore before the surgery. It's like, this is my life. I can't plan. And
Yeah.
so now that it's kind of like a renewed me. The old me's come back. That I can plan. Like, what is next? What's next on this journey? Where I'm losing this weight. I can, some of my life goals I might be able to achieve and stuff like that. That I never would have been able to I was at my peak. I remember looking at the scale when I went to the doctor's office, and it said 384.7. And I was just like, oh man, that's 384 pounds. I just couldn't believe that's how much I weighed. And I one of my goals in life is to go on a wild sheep hunt. And
Oh yeah.
those things are, they're in the mountains and they're
Yeah.
up to thousands of feet. You're climbing, and it's not a thing you can just get off the couch and go do. You have to plan, you have to exercise, you have to have strong mental abilities, strong physical abilities, and everything else. At 384.7
Yeah.
pounds, that dream was dead.
Yeah. Gonna happen.
It wasn't going to happen at all.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I got, here I am 6 months later. I got a dream that was never going to happen, starting to come to light again. Like, I can do this. I can go go on a sheep hunt someday.
You're giving me
And
goosebumps, man. You're giving me goosebumps.
yeah,
I'm about ready to break into tears for you because that's awesome. That's so awesome. When you and that's the power of this kind of surgery prompted journey. Because I don't want to give the surgery credit for it. It's you and your journey that makes it happen. But it's prompted by a new tool. The surgery that you have. And now, just when you say it was a dream that was dead to me, and now it's alive in me again, like I say, I'm just overwhelmed by. I get goosebumps hearing you say that because that's what I want everybody to know about in this process. I always say, as your body shrinks, make your life grow because the possibilities are back, and you just expressed it. I'm bumbling around here with it, but you said it in a way that was very poetic. It was great, and I'm glad you shared that with
oh
people
yeah,
because
there's
they got to hear that. Even though you've been through all this tough time, that's your mentality. That's why I think you're going to succeed.
well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I've, in some ways, I kind of feel like, so my sister had this surgery, and I've talked to other people, and they talk about, all this hard times, like that first while you got to go through, like, they talk about like dumping syndromes and all these
Right.
bad things that have it. I think what happened to me was so severe and so much of an impact to me. I've followed everything that the doctors and the nutritionists have told me to the T, that I have never had any of those issues with it.
Yeah.
And so for me doing that, like, I a lot of my positivity comes from that, saying, "Hey, look, doing what I'm told to do, and like and following this the way it's supposed to." Because, like you said, this isn't. It's not a cure. I mean, it's not like you just walk in and it's done. You
Right.
got to follow a certain regimen,
Right.
and so I can, I know, like, if I follow and listen to what the doctors have told me, and if I follow what the nutritionists have told me, and I'm doing that, I'm losing weight, I'm feeling better, and man, my life is just getting better from it. So we've got, I did something, I probably should have done, but it might have been one of the worst physical things for me. Is I took my oldest daughter on a hike, and we climbed. We went. It's about an hour and a half from here, and we went on. It was a little over 6 miles in, little 6 miles back. So about a
Wow.
little over 12 miles in, 12 miles out, and I think we were pushing 1,800 foot elevation gain,
Wow.
which is a decent amount.
Yeah.
This was like this summer. I was still pretty sick. I probably, if I was smart, I should have stopped like after a mile. But mentally, I was just like, you've lost. I was still over 300 pounds. I don't know my exact weight line, but like, look what you've lost from here to there. Like, keep going. Just keep going. Keep going. And the big thing was like, I lost weight. You can keep going. So then we got to, I was like, we're going to get up there to this point. And we got up there and we said, all right, we're going to turn around, go back now. And I turned around and I was just like, realized what I have to go back from. I'm like,
Right.
oh crap. Like, this isn't so, but physically, it was not a smart move. Mentally, it was the best thing that could have happened to me. Um, and I just pushed myself to that limit, to my limit. I was talking to my wife about it. I'm like, if you wrote down on paper that what this about this guy that's over 300 pounds, I think I was like 3 or 4 months post op. And so I had a open wound still, and still trying to get my eating habits together, figuring out what I can have and can't have that I could take on the mountain with me and all that stuff. There's no way that this guy on paper should have been able to do what he just did. But there's a lot of mental stability and increased mental power that comes through that weight loss.
I always say that when my weight loss, when my weight came off, that was the least significant change in me. It may have been the catalyst for all the others, but the least significant change in me because the change in attitude, the change in heart, the change in desires, the change in, like you just said, things that I thought I would never do, I'm now putting them on my to-do list, Those kind of things are far bigger changes than even the 200 pounds I lost, which obviously is very significant. because
Yeah.
being a skinny guy sitting in the living room doing nothing really didn't give me a whole lot of life back. It's taking this new trimmer body and going out there and riding a bike and climbing a mountain and doing the things like you're talking about, the hunting, the climbing, the mountaineering and things. That's life. And that's what you're reclaiming. And I feel like I reclaimed for the last decade, and that I wish everybody that suffers obesity would find a way into this journey that we're both now on. Yeah, and I really am excited for you.
Yeah, no, when they say it's life changing, it is life changing. And like you said, it's not the weight loss that's life changing, it's your whole life changes.
Yep.
And so, I mean, you get more confidence and and for me, I'm kind of the person that's like, I'm not around a lot of people. I got a small group of us. My circle is pretty small and stuff like that. So I didn't need to have confidence being around people because my group of people knew who I was, and I was
Right.
okay. My my so but there is an increased, going there. There is confidence that um I am losing weight. I'm not, when you're big, you always kind of feel like you're in the way of everybody and stuff like that. So now I don't feel like I'm in the way as much, and I don't have to worry about, when I go to sit on a chair, I don't have to sit there and try and structurally map that thing out and say, what's the weight limit on that thing?
Right.
And so I can sit there and just go sit in a chair or sit in a booth with everybody else. And so that's a life changing experience there. My life changing experience of my goals in life, my life changing experience of things I'm able to do with my wife and my kids. It's just everything's life changing, and the possibilities that it opened up from what I was at 385 pounds to now have changed. I still got I'm out about 100, right around 109 pounds. So when I hit that 6 month, I'll be over 110 pounds weight loss. So I still got quite a bit more to go though. So from the where I was, the possibilities before to where I am now to where I will be
Right.
is going to be immense.
Yes. And I once had a really smart person tell me that the beauty of the change is that you're always becoming that next thing. The day you realize you've put the brakes on, you're not moving forward anymore. So always be becoming, never have become was the statement that I kind of took from the lesson this guy taught me. And I find that so true with weight loss, because again, it's like you said, it's not the weight loss, it's more the lifestyle. And the lifestyle, because once you lose the weight, you're not done. You're still living that lifestyle. You still have to use your tool and all that. So absolutely, man. We're always becoming the next thing that we're going to become, on a route to the next thing we're going to become. And you're certainly uh, showing us that by example right now. So that's awesome.
Yeah, there's always becoming, and there's a part of you that's like, I don't want to give up my old life. And there's like I
Well,
enjoyed going out to eat with my friends, sitting down having something, really, really good to eat and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I'm not going to be able to go out to eat and stuff like that and do all those things. But just today I came back from going out to eat with a friend of mine. I sat down and I looked at the menu, and as a portion, there's a part of the menu I never looked at before,
yeah,
and it's the protein menu that's got like a good cod. I think I had a lemon peppered cod and vegetables and stuff in it. Tasted great. I had my old life still, where I was able to go out to eat and sit down with a friend and have a conversation with them. We talked for over an hour and a half, and we still had that. So my life, I didn't leave it behind. I just altered it a little bit.
oh, Brandon. I mean, you are a preacher within this community. Let me tell you, you are saying what people need to hear, and people, you need to listen to what he just said. This guy has only been in the community for what, 6 months now or so, 7 months, whatever it's been, and he's nailed it. He's nailed,
A little under 6 months.
yeah, and you've nailed the mental and the spiritual side of it so much. Like I say, you sound like a poet, just speaking the truth in the weight loss surgery community. So my advice to those 10,000 people out there listening: listen to what he says, because he's onto it. He's got it. He's saying it better than I've said it, better than I've heard it said in a long time. and he's only 6 months in. So watch this guy; he's gonna do great.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
I really thank you for sharing all that because, just talking about like you said, wanting, liking a lot of your old life. Yeah, being big wasn't. It's easier being me now than it was then, but there were certain elements about it. I always said this one too. I always got to ride in the front seat of the car, even if I wasn't driving, because people would say, "Oh, take the front seat. It's more room there." Um, I always got the first choice of a seat I wanted at a restaurant because which one fits you better, Bill? I could. There were certain things that you could take and make your own when you were the big guy in the room. It wasn't all bad per se, but most people don't talk about that. They don't. When you just said there's certain things about my old life I didn't want to give up. I've never heard anybody in the community just bluntly say that. I think they've said things around that. I was scared of change, or but what you just said was so true, and I think people um, fight with that all the time in their journeys because they do. You're right. I lived a life as a heavy guy for 25 years. I got pretty good at it, and now I'm giving it up. There's a discomfort level there. There's stuff that I knew real well, like you said, eating with friends. Always ordered the cowboy steak, that kind of thing, because bigger was better. But yeah, mentioning that and dealing with that in your head is what we all have to do one time or another. And until we do it, we can't really move on to the next thing. So thank you so much. I mean, I know I'm dwelling on this a lot, but it's because I'm just finding it amazing that it's coming out of a guy who's only 6 months into the process. So you're well on your way. That's good. Good advice.
Yeah. I think it's really important that we know that we that I think a lot of us have some of the people I've talked to, and there's some of the things I feel a lot of us go through those things and those thoughts and stuff like that. We don't want being big. You don't want to admit a lot of things. You don't want to admit that I have to go to the big and tall section, and not necessarily the tall, but the big section and stuff like that. You don't want to
Right.
admit those things, that you don't your life to change and all those things. But it's like when you can sit there and admit it to yourself, this is where I'm at, and this is where not where I want to be, and you can be honest with yourself and then make the changes, do what it takes. Weight loss surgery is not going to cure it. Weight loss surgery is a tool to get you where you want to be. And so just admitting to
Absolutely.
yourself is important.
Yeah, I used to have a hard time. In fact, I would not say the word obese. I could not. You call me fat, you call me any derivative of that you want, but the word obese, I don't know what it was about it, but if I couldn't mouth it, and if somebody said it, I wanted to run and hide. But part of the process,
Yeah.
like you say, was for me to say, you know what, Bill, you were obese. Clinically, then legit, straight up legit, you were obese. Now you're not, and I can mention it and talk about it, but it was so hard for me to do. But you're right. You have to be honest with yourself. That's my rule number one. Until you can be honest with yourself, don't even bother with weight loss surgery. That's my feeling. But yeah, I think that's really key to success. Being honest with yourself.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Very
So
much so.
you mentioned being outdoors. Sounds like your idea of exercise and whatnot is going to be mostly outdoors. You don't seem to me to be a guy who wants to go to the gym so much. You like being outside. Is that fair?
That is 100% correct.
Yeah. And so, what are your plans then? I mean, you got some bucket list things. You mentioned sheep hunt and some other things. Any sites on climbing any mountains or any particular uh, Pacific Coast Trail or anything like that that intrigues you?
So for me, um, it's kind of a family thing for me.
Ah, I see.
All the kids have packs. My wife has packs, for day hiking and stuff like that. And then we're starting to, now we're starting to get into backpacking. So my plan kind of is here in Montana, the winters can be a little bit rough. And so going outdoors there's some things you can do. You can do snowshoeing and stuff like that. And I'll
Yeah,
probably
it's great
start
exercise.
getting into that. My wife has talked about it. yeah, it's a great exercise. My wife's talked about doing it. Something she and I can do together. So kind of my overall plan is like during the winter, I'm gonna have to spend some time in the gym, and that's okay. I'm not the guy. If you say you're going to have to exercise in a gym and run and everything from here on out, guess what? I'm not. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be doing it. I'll have a certain amount of time, a few months that I can do that, and then it's just going to be too much for me, and I'm going to give up. I know that about myself. I know that that's going to be if I try and alter my life that way, it's going to be a failing event. So what I can do is I can tell myself during this winter, you're going to have to spend time in the gym, and that's okay. I can handle that. And there's a few outdoor things you can start doing outdoors, the snowshoeing and stuff like that. Come spring, you're going to be going out in the field and working with your dogs and everything, walking great distances there and everything. Come summertime, you still can do it your dogs some. I'm pretty picky about what I do with my dogs because during starting late spring early summer, like there's nature's taking it, young nature's out there. I don't want to disturb it or anything like that. I start hitting the trails and go hiking with my family quite a bit, so I can hike as much as I want. Then I can throw a pack on and go on little hikes or little walks around here around town just with a pack on. And I'll throw my backpack on and walk around my neighborhood for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and just enjoy it. And then I can go in the mountains, just prepare myself for the mountains. So my mental picture is what I love to do is get myself prepared and ready for going in the mountains all summer and going hunting in the fall and everything else. So I have a plan set up that yes, during this time I'm going to be in the gym, but during this time and maybe I'll have to go to the gym occasionally in the spring, summer, stuff like that. When I can't get out as much, and I have an hour, I can go walk a treadmill, I can go ride a bike or something like that. Um, so I can do those things and set it up. So all of my mental exercise plan is coming to mentally prepare myself for the outdoors. So we're gonna go. My wife and I are gonna go backpacking next year. It's something I haven't done for a while, um, and eventually probably my kids will get my kids into it. And I told my wife, so like I got books I read that tell you about certain hikes within, and there's apps and stuff like that. And so when I'd go through them, I'd look at these hikes before that would say, you're going, it's a 4 mile hike and the elevation gain is 400 feet. And I'm like, well, that's doable. I can do that at my 384 pounds. Well, this year I'm sitting there going through it and like, hey, this hike says it's 8 or 9 miles and the elevation gains 1,500 feet. Like I can do that one this year. Next year I'm going to be going through that book and going through those apps. Say this hike is going to be is going to be 15 to miles, and your elevation gains going to be 2,500 feet or that. And I
Right.
tell my wife, I was like, that see that trail over there? I'm like, that trail is over 5,000 feet. I said, I'm going to be doing it in a couple of years. And so that's what my plan is just to get myself ready for that. And yes, I'm going to have to spend some time in the gym. I know that because of our winters here, but that's okay because I know the time period that I'll have to be in there and I can do what I need to. And I can mentally think about myself. I'll have a book in front of me as I'm doing it, reading about sheep hunting the whole time.
Yeah.
And so
That's great.
I'll have earphones in and I'll be watching a YouTube video on sheep hunting as I'm exercising on the bike. So it's all just a mental perspective of how you need to get to where you want to be.
Well, Brandon, I'm telling you, you are. I said earlier that I'm like the poet or the preacher of the weight loss surgery community now because you sure have. I think you have your mind right, and you got the right approach to the recovery part of it, the food part of it, the community part of it, the social part of it, the physical part of it. So I think people will be very happy that they tune in and listen to you talk because a lot of wisdom coming across from you and in from a 42-year-old 6-month post-op. That's pretty good. I'm impressed. So I really want to thank you for sharing your story with everybody and your enthusiasm and your attitude and your mental state because I know you've helped people. I know you've helped people already just out of this
Well,
conversation here.
Yep, that's my goal, is to help people. I really, and people can call me, and they can send me messages on Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah, I was
whatever,
just
stuff
gonna
like that.
say,
But I
you're on
ultimately,
Facebook and you're on Instagram, right? So people
yep,
can find you. It's just Brandon Moss.
yep, Brandon Moss, and then on Instagram, I think I'm Upland 406, Upland Bird Hunting, so it's Upland 406, Montana. So they can send me messages there, and then Brandon Moss on there. Typically, I don't know what my profile pictures look like, but it probably has something to do with hunting or the outdoors, I'm guessing.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, so they can, if they want to get in touch with me, and there's going to be people that are going to be like me that don't want to be in there, are going to have a hard time at the gym all the time. They can. I'm more than happy to talk to them about any of this stuff. And ultimately, I would like to, I don't possibly this next year set something up where more people can be a part of something. Build upon it. Just like I'm thinking, if they want to do something like this, they can build upon that hike at 400 feet at 3 miles to the hike that's going to be a 4-day hike or a 4-day backpacking trip covering 5,000 foot elevation gain or more and stuff like that. So I'd like to see myself set something up down the road that will people can be a part of that and
Yeah,
push
that's
myself
great.
from year to year to year.
Well, and speaking of things like that, because our community is obviously spread out coast to coast, north and south, all over the place. So we do a lot of things virtual. Um, though the WLSFA, we have our annual conference in Las Vegas this coming year, and people can get information on that at the WLSFA.org website or Facebook pages. But we also do a virtual 5K. I don't know if you've and I'm way behind in getting out and promoting that, but things like that are things that we can do. And if people want to walk, again, go to the Facebook page of WLSFA and sign up for the virtual 5K, September 12th. But those kind of things, and Brandon, like you say, I do a bike ride sometimes. I have people follow me on my bike rides and make donations. You could have a mountain hike, like you say, getting over that 5,000 foot level. There's a lot of things we can do, so it's really great to welcome you into the community and learn more about you and welcome. I encourage people to get a hold of you and talk, share their story with you, private message, as I've been able to do the last couple of months, and we'll look forward to seeing you down out in the community downstream here as you continue to on your journey and success on your journey, and we all are moving down the field together, and hopefully we can all learn from each other like this. We really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on. This is quite an honor for me to be on here. And like I said, I'm more than willing to help out anyone. If they can't find my information, they can contact you. You're more than welcome to give them whatever you need.
Yeah, no, that's right.
I,
People can reach me, and I can pass along your contact information if they're trying to reach you. Well, Brandon, I'm going to wrap it up here then. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you,
Thank you.
thank you for your sharing with the community. Like I said, you were a help. I know, and you'll hear it from people. 2 years from now, someone will come up and say, "I saw an interview one time, and it really helped me." And trust me, it'll happen to you for the rest of your life from this
That's what I'm
community.
hoping for.
Yep.
That's really
Well,
what I'm hoping
we will see you on down the road. You take
for.
care
All
of
right.
yourself, and best of luck on your journey.
All right. Well, thank you. Have a good one.
I will. You too. Bye bye.